I think we should start. Good day, everyone. Welcome to the SALJAC, South African Leadership Gentlemen's Club presentation. SALJAC is the club of gentlemen that was started in 2019. Our view is that we understood that in terms of the world, we've given away our power and let the government and anyone else decide for us. We are living in the times where we've outsourced our leadership roles that God has given us to lead in our own communities. We've given away the direction that we're supposed to provide as per God's given responsibility in terms of the family. You will hear a person saying that, asking their kids to say, what are they teaching you at school? So that simply shows that that family has given away the responsibility of leading and teaching their children to the school. Now we realize that if you look at the current status of leadership in the country and everywhere around the world, we are all complaining about the quality of leadership. So now we went back to the drawing board to say, what is that we are supposed to be doing in our own self? And we wanted to revitalize the leadership within the individuals and move it over to the families, and then after that to the communities or the society that we live among. So this club is for men who are willing to play the role that has been given to them in terms of their society. Our club is based on what we call 5 cardinal pillars. In other words, what the SALJAC stands for. It stands for, one of them is the mental liberation of South African men through various programs in partnership with all the stakeholders. And the second, so that simply means in terms of the transformation to say, we are transforming the mind and make sure we are transforming the mind of a person to make sure that everyone plays the role that they've been given by God to play. The second one, which mostly will be in line with what leadership Samuel will be talking about today, is the total respect of self, women, children, and vulnerable in our society. If you can, our slogan says, we are reviving human conscience and bringing back hope. Many have lost hope. They think there's nothing that they can do. Everything they've thrown their hands back to the air. But we are saying we want to revive that hope. We want to empower men so that if you look at the most programs are women empowerment, taking a girl child to work, but the boy child is left behind. So we want to try and make sure that we close that gap and empower men so that they become what they're supposed to be. Currently, there's a lot of issues and a lot of challenges in terms of the food that we eat, in terms of the food being mostly a GMO food. And now we say we need to reconcile our role with the land, because when God created the man, the first thing he gave was the land to say, this is the land that you need to cultivate and make sure that you look after it. So we wanted to make sure that we close that. So a question can be, why only men? What about women? We've got a desk that we call the Friends of the Club. We understand that men do not live in the vacuum, but they live in the presence of women. And we also understand to say that men, there's a lot of men that are raised by women. So we want to make sure that the women, we've got the club, the desk of the club that caters and make sure that women become part of our programs and they have input in terms of our programs, and make sure that whatever we decide to do, we do and ensure that the women also benefit in terms of that. So the club is if you go for more information, we've got in our website, and we welcome women and we want them to be part of our club in terms of being friends of the club, and make sure that they contribute to make sure that the programs that we do are going to be in line, because we do not live in the vacuum as men. Everyone is welcome to join, men especially, because the more we are, the better, and we are able to decide the programs together. Each and every man although we've got a different position in the executive, but each and every person who's a man, and a boy who is a member of the club is a leader on their own right. So we do not expect the club to be led by the executive committee and or the board, but each and every man can start their own program where they live, start a garden in the place where they live. Make sure that we influence people around you positively so that we're able to move forward, all of us together. The gentleman that is going to present today is one of our own, Mr. Samuel, who is Samuel Lekalakala. So I'm going to give you the resume of the gentleman that is going to lead us today. Mr. Samuel Lekalakala have been in project management in both private and public. Sorry, there's someone who's, please mute so that we do not get disturbed. Please make sure that when you come in, you mute. Sorry about that. As I was still saying, I'm presenting the presenter of the day. Mr. Samuel Lekalakala have been in project management space in both private and public sector for 2 decades. His passion is in human development and training. Currently, he's an IT project manager for University of Johannesburg. He was instrumental in establishing project management office for Eastern Cape Rural Development Agency. Since COVID has impacted both global and local economic negatively, Mr. Lekalakala and his team did not fold hands, but what they did, they established an organization called TERRA, Township Economic Revitalization Agency, to change the mindset within the community. He conducts mind training program, that is mindset change. He calls it R-Cube, meaning reset, recalibrate, and rescript mindset for both success. As COVID has negatively impacted both global and local economy and education system, the team of Mr. Lekalakala, they conduct mind training to assist learners to achieve distinction so that they can meet university requirements and qualify for bursaries instead of 30% pass rate required by government. They also conduct mind training in government department to establish men forum and train men to mitigate GBV, which is gender-based violence. They believe that GBV is a mind problem, nothing else, but it's because of a mind, state of mind. The approach towards GBV is action-orientated, not talk show based, dealing with root cause and being proactive rather than being reactive. Their mind training, they call it is recreating best men, is a bi-directional helping both perpetrators, men, on anger management and emotional intelligence. And also they focus on victims in terms of mind training for women empowerment to assist them to have mental toughness and economic empowerment. They have rolled out the mind training program in the following government departments: National Treasury, National Department of Transport, National Government Printing, Government Printing, National Environmental Affairs in schools, also throughout the country. They conduct training to change the mindset of the working class from depending on the bank and spending 20 years paying off a property. But they come up to say, when they reset, recalibrate and rescript mindset, you can, as a working class, you can own a property within 5 years without a bank bond. I think most of us will be, if not all of us, will be happy to be part of such a program. Instead of paying for 20 years, you will pay 5 years. I think those are the programs that really would make an impact or are making an impact on people's lives. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you, Mr. Lekalakala. Mr. Lekalakala is a member of the SALCHEC, and we are happy to show that the guys that we have or leadership that we have in the club, they do good things in their lives. So we empower and we ask everyone to be involved in that space. Mr. Lekalakala, welcome.
Thank you very much, Chair. I really appreciate the time that you've been given. Welcome to all the leaders that have joined us today. And a very special thanks to the chairman of SALCHEC for creating this platform. So, gentlemen, as alluded into from the intro, we are going to discuss how family history, family totem, and family praise can be used to mitigate GBV, gender-based violence or criminality as a whole. Now, before we get into that, I just want to share with you the history of the use of gender violence, of family totem and family praise to mitigate gender-based violence. I hope some of you can recognize this man. The use of the family history, family totem, it's as old as this man. Can you recognize this man? If you think you know who this man is, just go to the chat box and type in what do you think his name is. Now, while you are still thinking about his name or who he is, I'll give a bit of a background. During this man's time, what happened? The angels or the sons of God, as the Bible puts it, some angels left their places in heaven and they materialized. That means they took on the human bodies and come here on earth to have sexual relations with humans, with women. And the results of that was that they gave birth to bullies. They gave birth to the very gigantic, violent men who were committing all these sorts of criminality. And they were very violent. They will take men's husbands, they will rape them. They were actually committing all these sorts of crime, to an extent that our Creator, Jehovah God, saw that the world is so bad and he brought about a destruction. Yes, I think you might have got the name of that man right. That name of that man was Noah. Now, after God has destroyed this man, this wicked world, he actually made an agreement or a covenant with Noah's family. He gave them what we call, in inverted commas, or as per our discussion, he gave them what we can call a family totem, which was the rainbow. That was a covenant. It was more than just a family totem. It was a covenant or an agreement to say, I will never, ever end wicked people using the flood. And the family of Noah came up, if you read about that account in the book of Genesis chapter 6, they actually came up with family praise or family praises that they were actually giving. And as you see here, they were very thankful and they were giving up a thanksgiving to God for removing those violent men, for removing those people who were very wicked, who were committing all these sorts of crimes. Well, somebody might say, yeah, this is a very old story. It's written in the old, what do you call this now? The Old Testament. How does that relate to us? Well, the agreement that God made with Noah's family, it was not only with Noah's family. He mentioned that from generation to generation, which means including even our generation. Now, let's fast forward things and come into the first century. During the first century, we meet, here is another man who was a very violent man. And again, this man, he was committing all sorts of crimes if you read about him in the book of Acts. Do you think who that man was? Can you guess who's this man? The way he was so violent, he was even compared to a wild animal. And this man, his violence, that was across the gender, not just only gender-based. His violence that he was committing during that time, even God's son saw fit for him to intervene as much as his father, which is Jehovah God, has intervened in the time of Noah. Jesus Christ, he intervened at some stage. This man, yes, I saw somebody might have got the name right. His name is Saul. So Jesus Christ saw a fit to intervene, to say to this man, I'm going to stop this man from what he's actually doing. How did he got about to change this man from being a very angry man up until here? When Saul asked for a permission to go and persecute other Christians, especially in Damascus, Jesus Christ stopped him there. And he said to him, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And immediately the Bible tell us he actually mentioned something that got him from this level to that level to this level up until Saul died a very happy man. How did he do that? If you read about the accounts in the book of Acts, that will be your chapter 7. First of all, it tells us about the man Stephen. Stephen was a very good disciple of Jesus Christ. And he told, or he shared with the Pharisees the whole history or a family history of the Israelites. While he was talking that history that runs from Abraham up until to the time of Jacob, having 12 sons, and Jacob and one of his he had a son called Joseph. Joseph was sold to Egypt up until the family of that goes. He told the whole history up until the 1st century. And when you read that, you will see that he was not reading from somewhere. He knew that history by heart. It was part of the software of his head, so to speak. And Saul and other Pharisees were very upset about that. And what they did, they killed or they did away with Stephen. Now, when Jesus stopped Saul here, and the Bible tells us that Saul for 3 days, he couldn't see a thing because he was blinded. He couldn't eat or drink. That's when now he was actually calmed down. Now, probably some of you might not be aware of that history that Stephen told. So during the time when Saul couldn't see, surely he might have thought a lot about this. Let's get into the real nitty-gritty of really what happened there. Well, the Bible doesn't actually give the whole technicalities and everything because the Bible is not a science book. Now, there is a level of awareness that men might not be aware of. We've got 4 levels of awareness. If you see there, it's unconscious incompetency, which is coded red, meaning that the people who happen to be at that level, they have a certain incompetency that they are not conscious of. Those people, they are toxic members of the family. They create a toxic environment as much as Paul did. They are themselves a part of the problem. They have what we call a lose-lose kind of a relationship that they produce. And then we have wrote an example there of Saul. And of course, in our time, we wrote an example of Oscar Pistorius. You know the story around Oscar Pistorius, how he ended up killing his wife. And then previously, he was a very wealthy guy. He was a successful man, but he created a lose-lose kind of a relationship. He lost the woman, and then he lost all the possessions and the fame and everything that he had now currently where he is. So what's happening? We want to use the use of totems and family history and family praise to move men from that red level. To what level? To a conscious incompetency. What does that mean? Conscious incompetency. We do have some men who are conscious of their incompetency, or they are conscious of the incompetency within the community where they live or the society where they live, but they do nothing about it to improve the situation. Those people, they foster some kind of stagnation. They keep the status quo as it is. And normally we say they create what we call win-lose. They think that they're keeping themselves safe, but they're not really improving the situation. Now, we've got a 3rd level of awareness, which is conscious competency. So this level is the level of all the people that have attended this lecture today, where now we are going to give you an ability to be able to respond to the issues in a very proactive way, not reactively like our government is doing. If you look at the way government is actually handling GBV, it's a very reactive way. The other time I heard about this woman in Free State, she was the broadcaster at Lesedi FM, and they reported that she was stabbed by her husband, and the government is then said, no, let's launch out the police, they go and hunt this man. So it's always being reactive. And even the bully at school, the way the government is dealing with it, you know very well, our MEC has now turned to be a sort of like a firefighter. Every time he's running around, there is the bullying in this school, it's going there. And eventually the whole house will come down, crumbling up in smoke. So we want to be very proactive. We want to enable or empower our men to have that responsibility, which is ability to respond. And we're dealing with this in an interpersonal level and intrapersonal engagement, not only interpersonal, intra within the person himself, not only ending there. The level that we want people to get onto is unconscious competence, where now people will now be change agents themselves, to bring about the needed changes that they want to see within the solution. And those people, we regard to them as the part of the solution within their family and within their communities. They are solution focused kind of a thinking. They create a win-win kind of a relationship. An example there, we put Noah and Paul. Now, let's get into that in details. If you look at Paul himself, the way he was going about persecuting Christians, he produced great results. We all have what we call conscious mind and subconscious mind. Due to the actions, it's either we can produce red results or yellow results or a blue or a green result based on what? Depending on where we are in terms of level of consciousness. Now, what is this conscious and subconscious mind? Let's just dive much into it. So we all know that conscious mind consists of 5 senses: sense of sight, sense of hearing, sense of smell, taste, and touch. And as we mentioned, with Paul, while he was stopped by Jesus Christ, while he was on his way to Damascus. So these 2 senses, which is sense of sight and sense of taste, actually didn't work. And if you look at conscious mind vis-a-vis subconscious mind, it's all these complicated systems that are in the brain. How does the human brain really works? It says here, conscious mind consists of only 10% of our thinking capability, while subconscious mind consists of 90%. Now, in the subconscious mind, that's where now recurring thoughts are happening, the behavior, habits, feelings, temperaments, memories, and especially recent memories, belief systems, and either phobias, traumatic events, addiction, everything about you is in the subconscious mind. So now this tells us that when we are looking at the research that actually was surrounding the whole events, for Paul, for Saul to be changed or transformed into Paul, he must have thought a lot about the history, the family history that Stefan mentioned earlier on. That's where now the recent memories were actually happening. He must have thought a lot about what Jesus Christ was telling him on that time, and also what he was intending to do to the Christian in Damascus Day. So that has changed his behavior, his habits, his feelings, his temperaments. It actually moved him from being a rage man, from that being angry to be sad about the whole situation, up until he became the Apostle Paul that you saw on the previous slide. Now, just to show you another dimension of the mind, In the mind, as we mentioned earlier on, that we have a conscious mind, which consists of 10% of their thinking capability, 90%, which is the subconscious mind. Now, what's happening in the subconscious mind? We also have what we call temperament center. So we also want to use the family history, family totem, and family praises to reprogram the subconscious mind, so to speak, to reprogram this temperament center, because everybody has that. And if you look at the bottom here, all the people, they have intelligence center, and even all the learners. Hence, that's why in the biography you had that we also do mind training to assist the learners to achieve distinctions. We believe that each and every learner, they have this intelligence center in them. They are intelligent. It's just this intelligence center hasn't yet been activated. We all this temperament center, so we activate it in a way that will produce the results that we want. I hope you guys understand. I hope we are together so far. Now, there is no emotions or the feelings that can come without the person thinking about it. So if we want to have a positive emotions, we need to engender or elicit positive thoughts. So what we think affects how we act and feel. What we feel affects how we think and act, and how we act affects how we, they're all interrelated, as you see there, that the thoughts and the emotions and the behavior, the relationship into that. So this, once we understand this, gents, we are moving from the red level, which is unconscious incompetency, and some of us will move into the blue, into the yellow, into the blue, and eventually we want people to get into the green. So I just want to get somebody who can volunteer to read the first paragraph here as to what is the answer, why lies the answer. Can anyone just volunteer to read the first paragraph there? You can unmute your mic.
Yeah. Subconscious mind incorporates all involuntary processes and functions, including thoughts, beliefs, emotions, memories, skills, and behavior that are generated by and occur in the living brain and body, and which we are unaware of.
Of which we are unaware of.
Well,
so you see that those thoughts, those belief systems, those emotions and memories and behavior, some of them, they are generated in the brain and in the body, which we are not aware of. So that's why we want to make people aware of that. And once they are aware of, second paragraph, can you read the second paragraph, please?
So what are subconscious beliefs then? Subconscious beliefs are instructions which are coded and stored in the cells of the nervous system and body as to how we should feel, act, or behave, or how our lives should run or operate.
Exactly. Those are the instructions that are coded and stored in the nervous system and in the body as to how we should feel. So just to give you an example, when you look at the teachers, the learners at class, a teacher comes in there, the learners are very disruptive, they're playing there, they take papers and they throw it at other learners and they're distracting them. And the teacher comes in and issue an instruction, said, guys, you're making noise, keep quiet. Now, these instructions that are coded in the cell and the nervous system of the body of the learners as to how they should feel, act, and behave, they will override the instructions that the teacher is giving them. So even with us now, we do have, I mean, look at the situation of, COVID-19. The president, every time they come and address us, guys, do this, don't do that, do this. People, because they've got these instructions that are coded in their subconscious mind, those instructions, they override even what the president has actually said about the COVID. Or in any institution, you can think about any institution, and especially when coming to crime. Now the level of crime is very high. This means people, instead of being obedient to whatever instructions that the normal society must abide by, those instructions, they're overriding them. So it is very imperative, colleagues and leaders and men, for us to, as it were, we reprogram that subconscious mind to get what we want those people to produce, which is a positive thing, or to get the results that we want. Surely we don't want red results, as we have seen. We don't want yellow results. At least let's settle for blue or a green results that is producing gentlemen, or recreating best men, recreating best, yeah. So the other things that we need to look at when we reprogram the subconscious mind, we look as to the question, where does your beliefs come from? Unfortunately, the beliefs can be influenced by either the environment, our home place where we grow up. Some of us, unfortunately, we didn't have parents who have a very good parental skills, from the environment where we probably grew up in a township that was very violent. Sometimes it's because of the events that took place in our lives. Probably, these young boys that were abused, and traumatic events. Remember, at subconscious level, they said even those traumatic events, they are stored in the long-term memory, and also the past results. While we were trying to do this and that, and then it didn't pass, or we didn't succeed, those results are always stored in our long-term memory. And every time when we do something, the mind goes back to that reservoir or database of results and look at this and say, hey, chief, you tried to do this thing, it didn't work. So you're not gonna win now. So by reprogramming the subconscious mind, we get people to focus on the future vision, to focus from present tense now, to focus into the future, rather than people focusing into their past. And we will get into details in that. But I just wanted to highlight one of the most important things that we need to reprogram is our belief system. Surely, we are not responsible for the programming that we received from childhood. But as adults, we are 100% responsible for fixing it. They say if you were born from a poor family, it's not your fault. But if you remain poor, then you are accountable. And in most cases, sometimes we sort of like self-sabotage ourselves. Our reprogramming of the subconscious mind for success, it also includes stopping men to self-sabotage themselves. If you look at what Saul was doing, he thought he was doing good, but he was self-sabotaging himself. Look for an example at Oscar Pistorius. He thought he was trying to duck and dive the law and play the rules and that type of thing. No, I thought it was a criminal. Somebody jumped into my yard and was trying to shoot at that person. I was not really intended. And then the guy, he was not even aware that he was self-sabotaging himself. He was not aware that he's sort of like signing off all his millions, all his success that he has achieved so far, all his sponsors, all of them, they were going. So, gentlemen, never ever try to hide any act of criminality and thinking that you can use the lawyers to rescue you. Those guys, really, I'm telling you, they're not interested in, the self-sabotage. We will help men on how to self-sabotage themselves. Now, let's get into the real crux of the family totem. Since the time of Noah up until our time now, so many families, they actually came from Noah's family. And a lot of families, they have their own family totem. They have their own, so to speak, family praise that they have designed. Yes, most of men might not know them. But what is the intention? What is the purpose of all these family praise and family totems? So this thing, they actually assist, or we use them to assist men to achieve what we call coherence between your conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Alignment between your conscious goals and unconscious goals. As you might have seen, that subconscious mind is 300 times much more powerful than your conscious mind. So, yes, I know most of men might not know their family totems and their family praise. Please, gentlemen, go and ask the families, especially those who are older ones. They will tell you what is your family praise, and we will show the action plan at the end of this presentation, how we are going to assist you guys in order to use that to be able to. So now, what is a family totem? A family totem, we can say in today's language, in corporate world, it's like a branding of the family. It's like a logo of the family. Let me just make an example. If you look at institutions like Saljet, we do have our family branding, you know, our corporate identity. If you look at institutions like FNB, for an example, people who are working for FNB, if you walk in FNB bank, a gentleman or a lady will meet you and say, "Good morning, sir, how can I help you?" "Good morning, madam, how can I help you?" Why are they so helpful, so friendly? Even if you come there as a very angry customer or angry client, is their responsibility, because it's demanded by their corporate identity to say, if we have a working angry customer in here, they must walk out happy customer, because the whole area is branded with that logo. If you look at their attire, it's also branded with that. If you look, they look at their own pay slips, it's branded with that. So the reward system, it's also attached to them. So the reason why they did that is because of neurological science research that we are going to discuss now that they are using there. But in a corporate world, don't make a mistake. In a corporate world, the reason why they're doing that, it's because they don't want to lose their clientele. Is because of the bottom line. But besides that, they are also using what they call their own FNB family totem to mitigate whatever criminality. If you are working for FNB, most of the people, they actually not even think about, stealing, the money or something like, because of the corporate belief system that they've engendered there, the way they've trained them in terms of money, in terms of the thinking behind it. And just to actually help you there, we have what we call explicit belief and implicit belief. Now, the explicit beliefs is the beliefs you declare and say, yes, I believe I can achieve that goal. But the implicit belief, it's your subconscious belief that will always say to you, no, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough to achieve that goal. I don't really deserve to achieve that goal. No, I'm not good enough to be a gentleman. I'm not good enough to be a best man. So those are the small voices. This is the self-talk that we normally have with ourselves when we are away. Yes, in front of people, we might be saying that. Now, the use of family history and family totem and family praises, they now get into what we call implicit belief and change it to be positive. How do they do that? Now, we know in each and every family we might have, or even in each and every community, we have good men and bad men, whatever that means to you. The use of this family history, family totem, it's used to train the so-called bad men to be good men. It trains good men to be better men. We use it to train better men to be best men. So guys, this is not an abracadabra kind of a thing, magic, and then voila, people will be gentlemen tomorrow. No, there is a process, there is a plan that we've put in place to assist men to achieve that. Now, for an example, if you look at what we call self-image, most of the men, the self-image has been damaged by so many things, various things. You can name it. You will see as we get into the anger component that what is it that's have damaged men's self-image. Once you know your family totem, your family place, that will boost your image. Those family totems and family places in the gathering, you will find women being there and ululating. And when they do that, it's what we call a pride and improve and the self-image. Gender-based violence is caused by it's called
Leadership Lekalakala. Leadership Lekalakala.
Emotion.
Mr. Lekalakala.
Can you hear me, my chief?
Yes, leadership. I think your network is giving us problems. I think maybe you can switch off your video and continue.
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you, my chief. It's sort of like your secondary emotion, anger in us. If you look at this slide, it says
apologies. I think we're struggling. We can't hear Mr. Lekalakala. While we're trying to get him back on the line. Mr. Lekalakala, can you hear me?
I'm back now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We are struggling to hear you. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I suggest? Can I suggest leadership? Can I please suggest that maybe you go back 2 slides, because I think a lot of us have lost you.
Can you very loud?
Yes, but I'm struggling to hear you. I'm not sure about the rest of the team. Maybe it's my network. Can you guys hear Mr. Lekalakala?
No, we can't.
No, we can't, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yes.
We are all struggling to hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's his network.
Thank you. Mr. Lekalakala, can you hear me? I think Mr. Lekalakala is struggling.
Maybe he must phone you with WhatsApp, leadership, and then he must put the phone next to your laptop.
Okay, I don't have his slides. I think I'll have to get his slides. Mr. Lekalakala, can you hear me? Leadership?
Can you hear me, my chief?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, what I'm saying is that we are struggling to hear you. Let's give it a try again. Can you present? Can you sort of share your slides so that you
Show
can,
slide.
yeah, share your screen?
Yes. It's coming.
Okay, I can see it. Do you mind going back maybe, but let me see, one slide back?
Yeah, one slide back.
One slide back, yes.
Okay, I think we
Yeah.
are all comfortable for Mr. Lekalakala to start here.
Yes, it's
Yes.
fine.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Lekalakala.
Yes.
Thank you, my leader. So here, colleagues, we were saying the use of the family totem is to improve or to reconstruct the self-image to a winner's image. As you all know, that we are all created in God's image. And unfortunately, due to whatever that happens in life and our upbringing, our belief system, we have created our own self-image. In most cases, especially men, they have a very toxic self-image. So what is stopping men from being best men is the self-worth that they have, the self-image, and the self-esteem that they have created throughout the time. So now here you will discover how to reprogram the subconscious mind and the self-image that we have using the family totems. Now, when we look at the gender-based violence, the main cause of that is the emotion called anger. And this emotion, anger, is called a secondary emotion, meaning that there are some other emotions underneath that are fostering or that are activating this anger. Now, in most cases, it says here, the real silent killer is the subconscious meaning that we have given to anger. You will hear people say, I am angry. No, hey, this woman is making me angry. No, it's wrong to say I'm angry because we all have all these emotions in our subconscious level in the limbic system. And this is you, this cup here. Depending on what's happening, if something good is happening, this yellow emotion, which is happy, is going to filter through this cup here. And if something happened, trigger you to make you angry, so to speak, this red emotion will filter through into this cup. Or somebody surprise you with a present, this brown emotion will get you. So it's only God whom the Bible referred to him as God is love, meaning that God is the very personification of this emotion called love. In our way, us as human beings, we have these emotions. Guys, if we can understand that, and there are things that triggers these emotions, we'll get into that in a short while just now. So this type of a silent killer has been deeply ingrained, reinforced, and repeated for years. So we need to undo all these things. To do that, if you look at the chemistry of emotions, for an example, we've got things like adrenaline, non-adrenaline, dopamine. I'm not going to go into all of those. Oxytocin, GABA, acetylcholine, endorphins, and serotonin. All of those, they are type of emotions, and they've got also their chemical structures. So just to give you a bit of an example, if you look at what we call H2, which is hydrogen, plus O, it gives us water. What does this mean? This means for you to neutralize this element, you need oxygen, and then it becomes neutral, or it becomes neutralized. So we studied this emotion called anger that it's in us. So the emotion called anger, and when you look at the chemical structure of that anger, we found out that the only emotion that can neutralize this anger, it's pride that is elicited by when a man knows and recites his family totem and his family history and his family praises. Now, Mahatma Gandhi, he made a very interesting quote that is equivalent to this scientific neuroscience experiment that we are explaining here. He said, anger is the enemy of non-violence and pride is the monster that swallows it. Of course, Mahatma Gandhi was not a neuroscientist like us today. He was not a chemist, but what he said, it proved to the truthfulness of this statement that I'm sharing with you now. Now, guys, to help us to see in the language of mind training, we are saying, do you know what happens when you apply external force to an egg? Normally, in mind training language, we say life ends. And there are so many ways that you can end the life by that external force. It's either it can be physical, take the egg and physically heat it, or either take this egg and put it into the refrigerator where now the temperature is 0 degrees Celsius. And the temperature of 0 degrees Celsius, it's another form of negative energy. Or you can take this egg and put it in a boiling water, and where the temperature is about 100 degrees Celsius. In all these forms of ways, you are ending life, meaning the chick that was supposed to hatch from that egg, it will die. So we don't want to exert external force on men to make them better men. We want to exert an internal force, because when internal force is applied on an egg, that is when the chick is about to hatch, it will chip on that shell. Eventually it comes out, then life begins. So this is how the life of the best man or a gentleman is going to begin, when we exert an internal force on this man. So this thing of saying, no, there is a violence in that house and let's call the police, they go and scope and honor this man, the life of a gentleman of that man is going to end there if we extend it. And a physical force, it can be extended in different ways. Violence is in a different way. You can be violent physically, you can be violent emotionally, financial abuse, or cyber violence, all this form of violence that we can have here. So we want to have men to be able to change from inside out, as much as Paul and Noah's example, how God and Jesus actually changed them into a better man. But for people to be able to do that, they need to have what we call self-knowledge. If you know yourself, you need to sit down and be able to study yourself. You will be able to refine yourself to be a better man. So I just want to pause here, and there is a video that I want us to be able to watch. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'll ask our chair to share the first video. It's about 2 minutes video.
Okay. Which one must I start with, leadership?
The first one. It's a victim and a victim mentality. That one.
Okay.
Hey guys, in this video, we're going to talk about the difference between a victim mentality and a
It's not
victor
playing my chip.
mentality. See, here's the thing.
We can't see.
Can you see my screen?
No, we can't see your screen. The video, we can hear the audio, but we can't see the actual video itself.
Okay, let me start again, try again. And okay. Let's go here, share. This one. You should be able to see it now.
Yes, yes.
Okay, let me start that all over again.
Hey guys, in this video, we're going to talk about the difference between a victim mentality and a victor mentality. See, here's the thing. You can't control what happens to you in life, but you can control whether you receive it as a victim or a victor. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Let's just kind of map this out. A victim mentality says, look what you did to me. And a victor mentality says, look what I did for myself. A victim mentality desires comforting lies, and a victor mentality desires
We can't hear any more leadership. Sipongosi.
mentality makes you defensive and discouraged, and a victor mentality helps to get you motivated. Out. A victim mentality says, look what you did to me. And a victor mentality says, look what I did for myself. A victim mentality desires comforting lies, and a victor mentality desires unpleasant truth. A victim mentality says, I can't succeed because everyone is against me. But a victor mentality says, I will succeed even if the entire world is against me. A victim mentality looks outward, and a victor mentality looks inward. A victim finds an excuse, a victor finds a way. A victim mentality makes you defensive and discouraged, and a victor mentality helps to get you motivated and makes you want to get to work. A victim mentality accepts human nature, and a victor mentality fights human nature. A victim mentality makes you think you're getting attacked, and a victor mentality makes you think you're getting pushed to greater things. A victim says, just leave me alone, and a victor says, keep making me better. And for a victim mentality, the outside influence is strongest, while for the victor mentality, the internal influence is what really matters. Listen, guys, it's your choice. You can either be a victim or a victor in life. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control your response to it.
Okay, thank you very much, my leader. Thank you,
Hey guys,
thank
thanks
you
for
very much. So yeah, that was highlighting the importance of knowing ourselves. And once we know ourselves, self-knowledge, we will be able to refine ourselves as men. Can you see the screen, my chief?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you very much. So it was just highlighting or rubber stamping the importance of that self-knowledge that we want, men to have. Now, how will that empower us? That is how the transformation of the man who was Saul to the man who became Apostle Paul. He didn't only knows how to refine himself, he also knew how to refine other people. And that's what we want to empower men to do currently. We want men not only to be better know themselves, but also to be able to refine other men, to be a change agents, so to speak. So I think that this part have explained the transformation that took place from here to there. Of course, the Bible doesn't give all this scientific explanation into it, but that's exactly what happened. Now, just for additional information, there are happiness chemicals that are also being produced within our body, which is like your dopamine, your oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. How are they produced? In our mind, we have what we call neurons, and these neurons produce neurotransmitters just right there. This is actually coming from this little piece of here. And when they produce this thing, it's either they can elicit fight response, which is the red one, or the repellent one, which is flight. So if you look at Saul, he was into this quadrant here. He was in the red quadrant. He was attacking the the Christian dominant, and he was mistreating them and all that type of. But when you look at a man like Oscar Pistorius, for an example, after he did what he has done, he wanted to sort of like duck and dive, and he was in denial, and the outcome, it was that self-sabotage that happened. So we want men to move from all these two quadrants. We get them into this quadrant, and eventually get them to the last one, where now they are going to face the challenge and the emotions that we are going to get. We're going to get them to be able to have a calm, engaging actions, and be very decisive in the actions that they take. So this is a very important quadrant where we will be able to get men to be gentlemen, to be best men. And we can do that by using that history, family totem, and family praises. And we will give each man, the chart like this, so that they can always monitor themselves. Because remember, all these things, they happen. Some of this emotion, men are not even aware of, the emotions, the actions that happen, and they can be able to track that during the course of the day as a tool that they will use. Now, at a very early age of a boy child, especially at the schools level, where now there is so much bullying, we get the boys to learn 4 steps. The 4 steps is that, look, if you have a problem, say the problem. Tell me what the problem is without blaming. Okay, I hear you. You say that is the problem. Okay, fine. Think of the solution. And the child will say, yeah, this problem is like this. And the solution, I think the solution could be this. Not only one solution, 2 solutions. And then afterwards, we say, explore the consequences of each solution that you think. Probably one of the solutions that they think is that I can go and beat that other child that took my toys, or that took my ball or my pen. But now think about the consequences. Explore what could happen if you beat that child. What could happen if you go and report that child to the teacher? What could happen if you look around for your child? And then the child look at the consequence, and from there we say they must pick up the solution. Guys, this is how we go about resolving the bullying in the schools. And once we can be able to mitigate the bullying at the school, at the secondary level, we take the steps for about 6 levels. And at the level of the gentlemen around us here, we actually say 8 steps here, which is the problem solving process. And it also have continuous improvement integrated in it. What is going on? Let's identify the problem, guys. What do we know? What are the root causes? What could we do? What is the best thing to do? How do we go about it? Have we solved the problem? Can we improve on what we have done? That is continuous improvement. Guys, it's sad to say that if we had the whole of South Africa have attended this lecture today, before this looting that we have experienced in South Africa, this wouldn't have happened. So we will have empowered the South Africans to be able to solve problems. And we want to encourage each and every member of SALJEC to adopt this methodology in being able to deal with whatever problems that we might have. Now, the other level of awareness that we want people to be in is you need to always be aware of what is it that you can control and what is it that you can't control. You can't control other people's feeling, other people's behavior, other people's actions, and other people's words and thoughts. But you can control your thoughts, your words, your action, your behavior, and your feeling. And we are going to empower you to be able to do that. Because if you tend to control things, or you want to control things that you can't control, it's like banging your head against the wall. And you know what's going to happen? You are going to bleed. Your whole head will bleed. And when you bleed, now you become very angry and you start becoming very violent. So knowing what is it that we can control and what we can't control, it's very important. Now, here is the thing, guys. In each and every man and each and every woman, the family totem, family history, it's used to sort out the misalignment that we might have. Look at this arrow here. This arrow, it's intended to move towards that direction so that we have created best men. But do you think this arrow will be able to move with all these forces inside, this one facing that way, and that pulling this way, and nostalgia and fear and emotions and disempowering beliefs pushing against this? Not at all. That's why a lot of people, they are strongly attached to the past. Today, if I can ask you, when we have people who are not happy, and you ask them the reason why they are not happy, all of them, they will give you the reason that things that happened in the past. All of them, they will tell you about somebody who did something to them in the past. So can you see that this line that is linking people to the future, it's so thin. People are not future focused, but they are strongly attached to the past. And that is what's causing them. Now, the family totem, family history, and family praises, they cause an alignment into the inner game and the outer game, the inner world and the outer world. It causes a coherence on your conscious mind and the subconscious mind. It connects you to the future, not to the past. And it aligns all these things. Now, currently, we will talk more about this family history and the application of it just in a second now. So when all of these are all aligned and this arrow is pushing that direction, surely this arrow, the whole green arrow, will move from current into the future. Do you get the gist of this? I hope you get the drift of it. So a lot of people, they are pulling what we call nostalgia. Nostalgia is living in the past. They have a resentment, they have excessive guilt, and they are all. So now we want to use all those three tools to get them to leave these things and look into the future and be able to, how do we do that? By priming their mind and their brain on daily basis. As I mentioned earlier on, what we have done within the Lekalakala family, we have taken what this family totem and brand it onto the mark, a coffee mark. Some of the young ones within the family, they didn't know Sereto sa Lekalakala, family praise. Once we brand this thing into the cars and they use this thing almost on daily basis, do you think now none of them knows this Sereto? They know it very well. And we also had some of the young ones who were very violent, especially to the women. And once you start to call a man ka sereto sa hae, or mukoni mo ila tlhantlhagane, a wa mukoni a ho diribe byalo, I'm telling you, you hit a certain nerve into the right nerve that is going to get the men to do what you want them to do. Now, you have actually applied an internal force. For an example, the man, a Zulu man whose name is Mukize. Once you start addressing that man, you said, hey, Kabazela, hey, kuthi wa kanjani na, akwenziwe kanjalo man, akuluthiwi. I'm telling you, you are going to hit the right nerve that is going to get the man to do what you want them to do. And that force is coming from inside. So the misconception that we have is, most of you guys, you drive. When you drive and there is a car that is driving slowly, we have done a research in about 100 families, with myself included. Guys, I used to get so irritated when somebody is driving, especially in a fast lane. You'll find that there is an event and we think is the one that is causing that behavior. And you will hoot him and get out of the road, get out of the road. You're flashing the lights there. Move, 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 move. Go and step in the slow lane there. Now, here is the truth that's actually happened. There is an event, which is somebody that's driving in front of you. There is thoughts and feelings that happen. that will produce that behavior, that unpleasant behavior. So what the use of the family totem does, it actually intercepts. It intercepts that thoughts and feeling there so that you can give a positive response. What does this mean? If now, let me make an example with SIPO for an example. If I can have two SIPO, SIPO number 1 and SIPO number 2, I say to SIPO number 1, SIPO, you know you are so stupid. Why have you done this and this? Hey, SIPO number 1 will get immediately angry. His adrenaline will pump in and become angry. You cannot call me stupid, Wena. Who are you? Do you know me? What? And then he can get into a fight. Now, here is SIPO number 2, who attended our lecture now. When you say, Emra, you are so stupid, why do you do this? Then this guy will think about it and say, this man, he doesn't know me. He doesn't even know my CV. He doesn't know my qualifications, and yet he's calling me stupid. I think that's his own opinion. Or he himself, he got a problem by calling me that. So by so doing, you are intercepting that. Instead of you as a man do something wrong there, you know, like this violence, this rape and whatever, you will think about the family name to say, hey, I cannot do this and drag the name of the Lekalakala into the mud. I cannot do this and drag the name of Nkosi into the mud. So once you have that pride of family totem, family praise, and family history, you will have this intercept that is actually going to go. It's going to intercept, so to speak, the actions that will bring irrational behavior. There will be something that will trigger that, and there will be emotions, maybe red emotions, blue, yellow, green, and then you'll have this irrational behavior. And that will be able to be intercepted by the use of family totem. Gentlemen, I want to ask a simple question. What is the first thing that God gave to man? You can unmute your mic and just shout. What do you think is the first thing that God gave to man?
Anyone?
Can you?
And
I think it's authority.
Authority. I had somebody at the back. A lot
It's
of men,
land.
they think it's a woman.
Land.
And today, when you look at men, they're always chasing women, even married men chasing girls, boyfriends chasing girls, and all that type of thing. Yes, the thing that God gave to man, the first thing that God gave to man was a land. Now, we want to use all these energies that men have to chase women for brain-a-thon, to unlock your brain for success. How do we do this? Guys, we have done this research and implemented it and done the pilot. First, within the Lekalakala family, by compiling what we call the genealogy, the history and the heritage of the Lekalakala people in the Southern Africa. I'm sorry, this book is not visible very well. But the reason why we have compiled this history, it's because we wanted to have the same impact that Stefan, when he was narrating that history of Israelites, the very same impact that history had on Saul, who later became Paul. Not only for that, we will just watch the second video now. I think maybe you can just prepare that thing. We were concerned as the Lekalakala family to say most of our learner, our children, they know history of Jan van Riebeeck, but they don't know their own history. And we took about 100 families and we put them together and said, guys, we want you to know your own history, and we monitor. We're doing sort of like a research and we monitor the results. You will be shocked. I will share the results with you. But for now, I just want to stop sharing the slide and we watch the second video, and we have few slides to conclude our lecture for today. Let me stop the sharing, and then that way you can share the a video there with you.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it. You can play it.
Okay.
Mafurutsi wa bola ba kwena ka mokgwa ile gore madi a bone na tsena mo molapong ba bitsa pleke o bare ke madi a ba kwena be fetoga ya nna madi a kwena be nna madi kwe ke teng mo madi kwe tswang teng ene maburu one ga a tsena ba sa kgone go bua lefoko la madi kwe ba bitsa pleke ya teng bare mariku so ke teng mo grot mariku e tswang teng kapa mariku le madi.
That's the end of the video, right?
Yeah, sure, my leader. So team, I want you to see that video. It is a official video that comes from Northwest Province. We are concerned that eventually our young men will be told their history by the whites. And look at that young man, the way he's sitting. He's supposed to be knowing his history of Mariko from the parents within the family. So why aren't we having that type of discussions? So that really concerned us. Once we saw that thing, we were so worried. We said, we are going to have about 100 facilitators in Northwest, 100 facilitators in Gauteng, 100 facilitators in Free State, and in Northern Cape, and on other provinces, so that they can start engaging and start getting the promoting the narration of the family history within. Because now COVID-19 is threatening now the people who are older people who knows the history of the family. And where are we going to get that information? University of Western Cape, UCT. Last time they reported that all the African history, the unit that was housing the African history, has caught fire. Where are we going to get that knowledge, indigenous knowledge from? It will be lost for good. So this is what we encourage. And also in that book, we have what we call family genealogy. If you look at this great-great-grandmother, she was born in 1926. And as you see, there is all these people, and we managed to have their pictures. And not only that, the other benefits of doing this, we also, due to compilation of this history, we managed to put a claim for the land of the Lekalakala family. It was about 58 hectares. And this land, it appears on page 38. And if you see on this one, there is a title deeds transfer of that land that was transferred into our family members. After we got this is the time where now we managed to say, wow, this is the realization of what the Bible actually mentioned, to say the first thing that God gave to man, every man must have a piece of land. And after that, we took about 100 families, guys. We said, guys, we want to make an experiment. We want to show you that it's possible for you to own a property in 5 years. And these families, they never believe that. Now we said, no, let's crunch the numbers. Let's say, for an example, you want to own a property of 1 million. For the next 7 years, and 7 years, it's almost 25% of 20 years. So for the next 7 years, you will only be paying interest, which is interest of 25% of 1 million is 250,000. So with those 100 members, we said to them, guys, you are going to save 250 times 100, which is 25 million. And they took the calculators, they worked it out, they said, wow, really? And again, normally when people buy property, they buy it through agents, and an agent will charge something like 7.5 to about 15% commission. Now, how much is 15% of 1 million? It's 150,000. We say to those 100 families, you are going to save yourself 100 from 100 families members, you're going to save yourself 15 million. They took the calculators and they said, and their level of awareness, they moved from unconscious incompetency to the level of conscious competency. They said, wow, 15 million, that's not. And we said, besides that, when you buy a property, before you can get this 1 million bond, you must first pay 10% deposit. So 10% of 1 million, it's about 100,000. And if you are 100 family members, you are going to save yourself 10 million if you use this model that we prescribe to you and you don't go for the route of the bank, of the bond of the bank. And those guys, they were like shocked. Guys, in Pretoria, in Montana, it's next to the airport. We got those guys, we bought a land, either from this 25 million that they saved or from this 5,000 that they were contributing for 60 months. And 80% of all those guys who were in there, none of them could have qualified for a bond if they would have went to a bank. So all these 100 family members, they saved themselves 50 million. It went back into their pockets. And they registered what we call a family foundation or a family cooperative. Cooperative, it's when it have different families, but when it's a family foundation, it's when, you know, from the Lekalakala family, we have other Lekalakalas and brothers, and then they write register a family foundation, like your Motsepe Foundation, you know. And those guys, they have 2.5, which was a membership fee within that thing, and they all establish what we call an executive. Each and every member within that cooperative or within that family foundation, they have their chairperson, their treasury, who was managing this money instead of going to the bank for the bond. And the first 20 houses, we sold them off the plan. And so selling those first 20 houses of the plan, they managed to raise 20 million in addition to the 50 million that they have saved. And that 20 million is the one that they, you know, used to do the foundation, to build the first 20 houses. And they're 5,000 per month for 60 months. If you multiply 5,000, multiply by 60 months, multiply by 500 members, you are going to get 30 million. And the companies that are constructing these houses, they employ all the beneficiaries of these members. Maybe in the family, there is a child who have done architecture or a building or a painting or whatever. They employ them as a labor. And, you know, a quantity survey, do what we call the calculation to say how much will the cost of building a house be, the material, and the cost of labor. And each and every company that comes in here and do the building, they are going to hire the labor of all those 100 members. And from Tshwane, we went to Joburg, established the similar cooperative, and we want to, currently we have like about 100 facilitators in Gauteng, in what do you call it, Northwest, in Free State, in all this other area. Either while we're doing that, we empower the perpetrators or even the members who are not the perpetrators, the victims also as well, because in some other cases, when you have transformed the people, you don't just leave them like that. You need to also have that empowerment program going on. So we have looked at the idea. Now, this part, it's a call to action so that we'll be able to empower and we'll have the results. Now, the call to action is, before we conclude, guys, we want you to say, what are the challenges? What do you think could be the challenges of having men to be gentlemen, to be best men, especially within your own community, especially from the experience that you have within your family. After you write that down, you are going to write what is it that you think can be used to mitigate, to overcome the challenges that you mentioned. And from these two, you must also write, what am I going to do from today based on what I have learned? What am I going to stop doing so that I can be able to create or recreate the best man, so that I can be able to own a property within 5 years? Because the truth is, COVID-19 has impacted both global and local economy. And most SMMEs, most people have lost their jobs, and most people are still going to lose their jobs, especially after this looting and destroying of the malls all over the place, and especially the destruction of a township economy. So we want to put this call to action, and our chairman will determine when will these results. We'll go through all these results. You don't have to write your names. I can see we've got about 30 participants here. You can send this either to mindtrainingschool@gmail.com, and we will talk to the chairman on one of the days. He will look at this call to action, and we will have like a panel where now we will present the challenges that you think it could be challenges for people to be, especially men, to be best men, for young boys to be best men. And what is it that we recommend as the solution to overcome them? What is it that we ourselves are going to start doing? What is it that we are going to stop doing? Why do we do this? We do this because we use the method of Pareto, the Pareto principle, which says with only 20% efforts, you will be able to get 80% results. That's why when we go to school, we tell the learners and the schools that we can train your learners to achieve distinction. We are not even apologetic of that, because we know we give them 20% efforts, and then that will produce this. Most of you might know Pareto 20-80 rules. So it's coming from this. Whatever that you are going to mention here, whatever that's going to be the solution that you propose, that you are going to start doing, will be able to get people into so-called brainathon to unlock the success in their mind. So with that being said, I think it will be very prudent to say this is the time for questions. I've actually left aside like about 30 minutes so that we will be able to engage and ask questions, and let's answer them. Thank you very much, Chair.
Wow. Thank you, leadership, for such an empowering lecture. And I think what I've taken away from all this is that there is strength in numbers, especially the example when it coming to people owning property within 5 years. And when you do the numbers, the calculations, I mean, it's mind-boggling. And that's nothing that if you look at those numbers and the money that we spend, and we do not look at it on a long term, there's a lot of money that gets wasted. And as you say, in terms of when exactly someone starts paying for the property. And yeah, I think I'm taking that away. And then I also looked at the issues of, to say most of the time, I think that's why we've got also Saljak as a club to say, the issue of blaming people from outside is not helping you, because the pressure that you get from outside ends life in terms of that egg that you use. But if we look at the issue of pressure from inside out, where it means you are providing pressure to yourself, that leads to life and the change that comes from inside out. I think we'll solve a lot of problems, because we will stop blaming other people and say, what is that I am doing on my side to make sure that I become the change that I have? So the call for action for people to come and join Saljak, and we be together, come up with programs like this, that Mr. Lekalakala has just presented. It shows that we are able to put our heads together and make sure that we we become the change that we want to see in the world. And I think that is very empowering. And also the issue of saying between the stimulus or anything that happens to you and the response, you've got a choice as a person to say, if a person starts attacking me this way, what is that I can do? And stop blaming other people to say, the reason I killed him is because he raped maybe a member of my family. But we could have stopped and say, what is that I'm going to do about this and the ability? So I guess that's where the word responsibility comes from, is the ability to respond to what happens to your own life. And I also liked the different steps that you've shown when people are trying to resolve their problems, to say step number one is become the problem without blaming, say the problem without blaming. Think about possible solutions, because most of the times we blame other people, but we are not bringing solution to the table. So we just complain. But if you ask people, what is that are you willing to do to make sure that the problem gets resolved? I mean, very few people are willing to do that. I guess it's because we are scared of what we'll come up with in our own self. And I think what scared me a lot about that issue of the conscious versus subconscious mind, of saying we only 10% of it is what we conscious about, the conscious choice that we do. The whooping 90% is something that comes out automatically because of the damage or the programming of our mind. And I think that is very scary to say, and we're using only 10%, I mean, of the whole brain, only 10%. I mean, if we can just access another 10%, I mean, we would have done a lot of progress in our own lives. I think this is not only about me. I'm also learning. I'm not perfect, but I'm willing to learn to be perfect using the programs like this. So I'll open the floor for people. Please raise your hand, and if you've got a question or contribution, so that we can start the engagement of the Mr. Lekalakala. We appreciate you taking time and coming with such a material. And I also like the R-cube thing to say, what is that we need to do in order to make sure that we change the mindset and we're able to be the society that we want. You said you reset, you recalibrate, and what you call rescript, putting a new script in our mind. And I think all those things, and if we all sum this thing that the presentation, it's all about the choices that one makes and nothing else. Not blaming the government, not blaming Cyril Ramaphosa, but to say, as much as this is bad, what is that I'm doing in my own corner? So I'm waiting for questions. Any questions? Any contributions you want to make to the presentation? I'm checking here. You can type. You can raise your hand. Digital, raise your hand. We're also looking, because we are also live on Facebook. Want to check if there's any comment from Facebook side. Please, Leadership Board, can you help me? Any questions that we are getting from there, from anywhere? Maybe I'm missing them. I think from Facebook, I'm getting to say thank you, Untitled Chapter from Leadership CPA. Very enlightening, and I have taken value on techniques of how to serve knowledge. One of our leaders as well, Mr. Khale, says, what an impressive lecture. Thank you so much, Ntate. This is rich information with so much truth that we need to hear often. Mental liberation is one of the pillars of Saljek. What I take home from the presentation is that we can't function if we are not conscious of ourselves, who we are really. Secondly, I think the presentation is just confirmed there is power in unity, which the element we lack much in our communities. Thank you, leadership. Is there any other? Okay, Mr. Zingisa, and then after that, Nelson will be second. The floor is yours, Mr. Zingisa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Zingisa Nkwali. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Mr. Nkwali. Loud and clear. Please shoot.
Ndinguzingisa Nkwali. Inkwali yenkosi. Ubhuku lakaMlabatheki. unobanjwa ngazibini, unongubonhloko, abanye bazithwele, abanye bazibelekile.
Hey,
Ibuze lakhe dla umhlanga kwavela amanye amabuzi buzwana.
oh my God.
I want to say thank you guys for this. Mr. Lekalakala, I was talking to my late brother's son this morning, and all that was coming out of my mouth was red. Had I spoken to him this evening, it was going to be starting to be green or blue. Thank you for the lecture. I mean it.
It was a very good lecture.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Zingisa. And it's a great thing that now you've got you've got a self search as well to say what is that you've done. I think that's what makes it powerful to say when you go back and say, let's correct it, my brother. I wronged you. I didn't. Although I was angry. Although I had feelings of anger towards you, I did not know better. I think that is very powerful leadership. Thank you very much. Next to Mr. Nelson Machule Manwa. I hope I pronounce it correctly. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Sorry, there's
My
some
name is.
Sorry, Baba. Nelson, let me just check. I think we've got some noise at the back. Let me just try to
How
mute.
are we now, Chair?
Much better. Let's keep moving. Let's see.
My name is Nelson Machule Makwazima. Umcweja, ugqarha, uvambano, umahlahlana, usiyoyo, unjembu, umlawu, upotwana, usibiside, unjani.
Sure.
Izalwa ngamanune, odoyo, machayo, ombathana, oxesibono, onzabo, ombokodo, ubomvu, okhanda nyawana. Uzalwa ngamahlaba. Ojolo, mphankomo, ogqenge, botholo, omthwakazi, omazebelenye, incansisa phesheya komlanjana. Kwizindlu zamangwanya namampondomise. Nditshate intombi yasemavundleni, ubhayi ukhetsha, ugobhoza ugwaca icamsholo, inyoka emnyama ecandisa iziba, umeva mhlophe. Ndibulela kakhulu bantu bakuthi, sihlalo ndibulela kakhulu. Enkosi Bhukula ngokundicela ndibe yinxenye yalo mhlangano. Kangaba ndiyimemba ukususela namhlanje sihlalo, noba kwenziwa kanjani nandawo iva ngawo.
Wow.
The key question I would like to ask personally, because I think this is really a revelation of a kind never seen before. We are usually told that our ancestral history and the religion are not to mix. When you follow your genealogy, when you think and respect your ancestors, you are regarded as a person who is not necessarily good enough to be in the world of religion. You can't be mixing Christ with your ancestral history or related activities. But when I listen to Mr. Lekalakala, it's incredible that he is so strong in faith, as far as I could see, and he's incredibly good when it comes to he himself and his ancestral background. How do we get that, including myself, by the way, to master that and work with it to take our country forward? Thank you very much for the revelation, Mr. Chairman, and all of your teams. Great work.
Wow. Thank you very much, Mr. Macwazima, and we appreciate ukuba khona kwakho. And what is interesting that you know the praises from family praises from both the families. We appreciate. We are learning from you as well. Mr. Lekalakala, do you want to have contributions? Do you want to have a comment on that?
Yes, my chair. Thank you very much, Baba Nelson. Siyabulela kakhulu. You see, if our level of awareness, we understand what the Bible says and what the Bible teaches, not what people say. For an example, if you look at the book of Matthew, chapter 1, it gives you the whole genealogy of Jesus Christ. And it was very important. Remember, the Bible says the Bible was inspired by God. So this means God saw it fit to have the ancestral history of Jesus recorded into the Bible. And it's for the very same reason that Stephen knew the history of the Israelites. Is the very same reason that God used that so-called family totem when he was talking to the family of Noah and also to transform this. So it's very important to know what is the difference between what the Bible says or what the Bible teaches and what other people are saying. So we need to be able to draw the difference on that. The Bible is not against the ancestral history and using it. It's actually being used in the Bible. It's not only in these instances. In many cases, most of the families, they knew their history.
Yes, leadership. I think what you are saying is very powerful. And I think, as you say, which most of the times, most of us want to comment about the Bible, but we do not spend time reading it. And that we only take the interpretation from people that are teaching us the Bible. Let me go to comments while we are waiting for other people to raise their hands. I think Mr. Bo, who is the chairperson, Unbelievable Staff, thank you, leadership. Maybe we must, okay, this one, Musa was saying, for me, it's the power of being African, the use of clan names to tame anger. I think that is very powerful. We've got to Sydney saying that this was enriching. Please share with us the practical steps on how to bring our families together, especially where there are a disagreement and resentment. And I think maybe you can answer that, leadership, Lekalakala, to say practical steps on how to bring our families together, especially where there are disagreement or resentment.
Yes, thank you very much, my chief. Normally, with this 100 families that I mentioned earlier on, we had the similar challenges. So what we have done now, we are saying, we start first step number 1. If you don't know your family totem or your family praise, you just ask anybody within the family. That person might say, no, I don't know. I think your uncle is the one that knows that. So we have created what we call a free teleconference facility. It's not going to charge you data or airtime. You can use that. We can have maybe on one Saturday, you call the family together or people, 5, 6, 7 people who might know a paragraph about the history. And when we were doing it within the family, guys, let me assure you, in each and every family, there are disagreements, there are infights, there are all those issues. But when we were doing, especially when we were putting together the history, we do have another auntie who doesn't like that auntie. We had another uncle who doesn't like this young boy because this young boy thinks because he went to the university, he's now clever. So we just had that meeting on Saturday. And during that meeting, this auntie thought that we are going to discuss the issues that was involved with the other auntie. And we didn't even touch that. We just say, guys, we want to know the history of the Lekalakala. And then the uncle number one, he actually gave us a paragraph. We capture it, paragraph 2 from somebody. Guess what? After 6 weeks, because some of them, they came to my house, another one, they went to another house to Limpopo, others to Soweto, and all over the place. After we've collated that information, we were shocked because when we were doing this, you know, the other ladies can provide like some lunch and everything. We don't even touch all those disagreements. We don't even touch those resentment. And you find that the people that have resentment or squabbles among each other, they are going to contribute. Another one might not know a certain history, which the other one knows. And by the time we have completed this book, you will be shocked, gentlemen. All those issues, they were ironed out by this project because everybody was now talking to everybody because they were a little bit curious. So the practical step that we have put is that we are willing to avail, you know, facilitators with all this due to COVID so that we can comply to COVID. We don't want people to gather people and transgress the regulation, so that we have the teleconference facility, which is for free, or we can have a Zoom facility where now you put few guys together, and you yourself, that is sickly, you need to be part of all those people who might disagree with this project. Let us facilitate that for the family, so that because we already have a template. Because if you want to do it, you'll find that there are some other, you know, uncles or Ramokolo, they said, no, this one, he thinks he knows clever, and they withhold that information from you. So we want you to be with them. That is a psychological weapon that is showing that you are with them, and then we are coming to assist them because we don't have any resentment, disagreement with them. That is a very, very important point that you raised, and this is what we have experienced within the family, and it worked very well.
Thank you, leadership. I'm still waiting for the hands. Okay, Mr. Kaba will come after this. What I'm going to read. Musa again says, the empowering approach that changes the victim to victor transformed. And I think that is powerful because immediately we take charge of our own emotions, our own thinking. We would have solved half the problem, because each and every time we blame someone else, then we stop doing anything about it. But if I ask the questions, like those steps that Mr. Continuous Problem Solving has shared with us, we are able to start questioning, to say, what is the problem? Instead of attacking people, let's attack the problem. I'll give Ubongani, after that Musa will come in. Bongani said, Mr. Kaba.
Okay, thank you so much, leadership. Wow, what a powerful session. First things first, congratulations to Sajek, all the leadership. You keep taking us higher and higher. Every session that we attend, it's a step higher. So thank you for the quality of the lecture. We've learned so much. It was powerful. Mina ngubongani uqaba unonkosi nombokozinde nonqasakhathala uqaba umuhle onganyekeza unyekezela amaqabakazana. Ekhaya asivali ngemivalo sivala ngamakhanda amadoda. Kuthiwa ngushwabade unonkosi. Okay, my question to leadership Lekalakala, you had a slide about the belief system. How do you deal with a situation where the environment plays a critical role? So let's make an example. So the point that I'm trying to highlight here is tribalism. Let's say a guy who's a KZN. That guy he knows his totem. Let's make an example like Mkizo Kabazeli, but that pride translates into a bit of a tribalism where so how do you deal with that, where the pride and the totem, family totem, act as a almost like a true loyalty because that's why in Benactua Amazulu they think they are better than other tribes. So how do you deal with that, leadership?
Thank you, leadership. I think before you come in, Mr. Lekalakala, let me give Umusa to have a question or comment, and then you'll come after that. Musa?
Good afternoon, everyone. This has been, is it afternoon? It's evening. Igama lami nginguMusa. I think I just want to admit and say this is one of the first meetings I've attended from start to finish, because it's so empowering and it's very interesting. What I've learned is just so much. I think also the second reason why I wanted to come here was more of being curious. So this is my debut, and I find it so enlightening. I don't like to call myself a victim. I wanted to know as to what is it that you sit and talk about in this platform when there is a like of Abu Musa, who looks, sometimes we know God, we know the basis of where we come from and everything, but there's a lot of repeat offenses, I should use that word, that makes us trust less. And I realized that the approach of this platform doesn't only tackle or separate, because it's more about men, but it doesn't separate. And I'm interested to know if we're going to get to the wounds that separates the male and the female. Because I'm very interested to know, or is there going to be a time where we're going to deal with those directly without saying it's you that has done this or it's you that didn't do. And as I've made a comment about the use of the clan names, I've learned a lot about that. So I sat here when I logged in as a victim, and now I think I'm thinking as a victor, because I'm not here with the blame thing of saying you did this, you did that. But I'm thinking there's a bigger ground that we need to tap in. Also, I'm including myself when I say we, when it's my first time of getting to the wounds. Are we going to direct those wounds that causes us to have the pain that makes us think we are different when we are so connected, when we are one, and when we can deal with those alone? I heard Ubabu Lekalakala when he was saying, if you come, you call Amapoisa for a person who has done something wrong and this person is just best and that. I'm thinking that's very correct. You can't just come and call police or hit the guy that has done that. But what do we do with the situation that causes the guy to be treated in that way, that makes us think we are different, to level the ground into fixing this? Above all, I just want to say this is very powerful, extremely empowering, and yes, it needs to be heard by everyone, not only the 31 of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Musa. We appreciate you taking time to join us and the comment and the question that we have. Mr. Lekalakala, please assist us in terms of the questions from Mr. Kaba and Ms. Musa.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me start first with the first question. I will use a very typical example. We had Ubaba Uzingisa, who came in and asked Tula. So now, let's say for an example, you got the situation, especially let's use the problem that we are currently facing now. We know the turmoil in KZN. Let's say there is a guy called Mukize there. If I would have had a chance and I knew that this was going to happen, and I go, irrespective of whether there are some other political leaders that might have given some brown envelopes to certain people to cause the havoc that we are experiencing now. And I happen to know about that, and I go to the certain Mkize man. Then I say to him, hey Mkize, Kabaze, ngizwa ukuthi kunento enjenje efanele wenziwa. Akwenziwi kanjalo. Once you call the man by that family name, which is Kabaze, you are hitting a specific neuron that will release certain chemicals that will produce a very good response. But if you just go and call him, hey Bongani, what's happening? Then Bongani will just do those wrong things. The instructions that are coded within his body as to how he must feel, how he must act, they will override anything good that is there. But once you get at the limbic system part of it, you will change the man's approach. Secondly, my leader, are we there? Secondly, it's for example, if you address Ubaba Zingisa or Nkwaliyenkos, you will get him to do what you want him to do, because that will really hit the right nerve, that will get him to do the right things. Let me just make an example. Uba Bongani, are you still there?
Yes, still here.
Bongani?
I'm here.
Yeah. So now, if I were to ask Ubaba Bongani to say, my chief, can you close the window in the room there where you are? Guys, you see that the video is on. I just want to illustrate something that is very, very powerful. Do you want to close the window there, my chief? Ubaba Bongani?
In my...
Yes.
Okay, it's closed already.
Okay, you can open it. If it's closed, you can open it.
Okay, it's open.
Okay, all right. Just stand there, my chief. So now, colleagues, here is the thing. When I was making a request for him either to close or open the window, I was engaging with his conscious mind. And immediately that instruction or that request went into his subconscious mind, into the neurons. He was sitting at the same position as everybody the way you are sitting. Now, his subconscious mind, that he's not even aware of. Thank you very much, sir. You can sit down. It actually gave instructions to his biceps muscles, contract them and expand them in such a way that he stands up and he walks towards the window and do either open the window or close the window, do the action that I requested him to do. And he was not even aware of that. When he was walking there, he didn't wobble and fall, and no, he actually did that correctly. Now, if you make a request in terms of the family name, you are really getting the person into that mode to do what you want them to do. Now, the second question, Usis Musa, I think the other part, Chair, you will assist me in answering that question. What you asked, Uguti, are we going to get to the wounds that were caused by this? Yes, we are going to get to the wounds. That's why I mentioned the issue of the action plan. I said, in each and every area where we are, or even within our family, we want to call to action. All the men, they must write, what do they think is the challenge of men being best men, or being, gentlemen. And alongside that, they must also write, what is it that they think could be the solution? And from at the bottom, they write, what is it that they are going to start doing and stop doing? So in that way, we will be addressing those wounds. What is it that they think could be a challenge for men probably to own a property within 5 years? And what is it that they propose? What is it that they think the victims of gender-based violence can actually own a property within 5 years? What is it that they think will be a solution? By so doing, we will be getting to the wounds, we'll be dressing those wounds and be able to heal them. And the chairperson of SALJEC will address us to tell us what date are we going to address all those issues, and as to how we are going to take all these things forward to all the areas. As you mentioned, rightly so, to say, this thing, everybody needs to hear this lecture, not only the 31 of us. So yes, we will get to that point. How are we going to do that? We'll form a panel, and then the chairperson of SALJEC will lead that. We'll be having all of those. He said, guys, these are the issues that came. These are the challenges that men are mentioning. This is what people are going to start doing. This is what they're going to stop doing. How do we go about it? Up until we actually have all those positive results that we want. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lekalakala. Musa, before I come in, do you want to say something?
No, sir, I'm covered. Thank you so much, Babu Lekalakala. Thank you very much for that. I'm covered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me try to read here. Usmoti has written something. Let me prepare my lips so that I read properly. I'll try. Pitša ya ka e tletse ya phophoma ntate Lekalakala. Re a leboga mantšu a gago, mantšu a bophelo, mantšu a lehumo. As a young Black child, I'm exhausted of Black poverty, and models like yours are really warming my heart. Ke a leboga. Yo, I know, guys, you can give me a round of applause. I think I did well for myself. Thank you. Let me quickly go to Facebook. We are quickly running out of time, and just see the comments that are there. After that, let me just check the comments here quickly so that I don't leave anyone out. Uposha was saying, I'm personally quite impressed by the corporate they started and the difference it made to the community. This is possible even with SALJEC, if members can pull together and be focused on mental liberation and financial liberation. Oh, wow, I'm so touched by Ubaba acknowledging the difference today's state lecture would have made if he had it earlier on. And then Usipe say this cooperation and scheme is so potent. I have read of it in Kenya where they control economy by collaborative funding to instituting such as their own shopping malls. Today's lecture takes me back to Coco Dineo's lecture and the powerful stuff and application that Lekalakala. The power of togetherness is much better, much deeper than we could imagine. This lecture is what South Africa needs. Yet again, thanks for clarifying the issue of ancestors and Christian religion. I like your affirmation on how potent the family totem is. So those are the comments that we got from Facebook. I think before I think we are at the end of we are already a minute over time. I think it would be unfair. I might be kicked out of the club if I do not give the chairperson and the visionary of the club, Mr. Bo, the oracle, to have a word, and then as we are about to close, Mr. Bo.
Leadership Chairman, thank you very much, and thank you to Ndate Leadership Lekalakala. Yeah, I did say, I think during the week, that this is one of the most powerful, if not the best, the only powerful, one of the most powerful lectures I've ever attended of the club. And I'm grateful that you have done justice to this time. And these are stuff that we need to talk about. These are very important issues that we as families and the one thing is, children look up to us for wisdom. And this is the wisdom that we should be coming here to take so that we can take it back to our families and children. So as a result of lack of knowledge, you wonder what kind of leadership are we giving to our families? Because such information, such powerful information, it's what doesn't attract most of the people. But I'm very grateful, leadership. It's actually long overdue, this lecture. And I think at some point, I will request that we do it again and again and again, so that those that have not caught it can be able to catch it, and those who have other questions, which would obviously, you will share the presentation, I hope. Those that will go through, some of us will go through the presentation over and over again, and there will be questions that will come. So perhaps we can be able to get practical solutions on how to mitigate that. The audience has been absolutely beautiful. I must say, record-breaking that we have had so much audience. This lecture really has done well. Thank you, leadership, and thank you everyone who has attended. And yeah, this is subject material. We give opportunities to our leaders to share the wisdom that they have, because we are an institution as it is, Lana. Even the audience, Lana, they are just an institution, powerful institution that have so much knowledge that if we bring this knowledge together, nothing can really stand on our way. Once again, thank you very much. And yeah, looking forward to meeting you in the Lekalakala, maybe during the week. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think let me give you, Mr. Lekalakala, a parting shot.
Thank you very much, Chair. We really appreciate, the platform that you have created so that we can engage with men in the past. They
I can't hear a word, Mr. Lekalakala. Lekalakala?
have already that beneficial. So now the engagement today was very engageful, and we really appreciate how this platform that the SALJAC has created to benefit men, not only them, but also the communities that they are living in. And we hope that it will be taken forward and being implemented more effectively going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for attending. We appreciate you taking time to be with us to get empowered. And I think we've taken a lot from this. And what we'll be doing, you go to www.salgc.org.za. We are going to be posting this lecture there. On Facebook, it was recorded live, SALJAC, South African Leadership Gentlemen's Club. We'll be also posting on YouTube, look for South African Leadership Gentlemen's Club. I'll be sharing to those that I normally share with, I'll be sharing the link to the recording. We appreciate your time. Please sign in, be a member of the SALJAC. Ladies, sign in as friends of the SALJAC. Go to the website and log in there. We appreciate your time. Let's take this information not only for ourselves, but let's spread it around the people who are around us. Let be the influence and the change that we want to see around ourselves. I think taking this information and sitting with it, there's a saying that says a person who can read but is not reading is worse than a person who cannot read. So in other words, if you've got the skill to read and the ability to read and you are not reading, then you are not doing justice to yourself and those people around you. I think let's spend time empowering people around ourselves. We're not perfect, but we all want to try and to be perfect. I appreciate every one of you who came through to us, and I appreciate the chairperson of the club to give me an opportunity to host today. And thank you very much. Good evening. Let's be the change we want to see in the world. Let's implement the programs. If you've got questions via website or via Facebook, send them to us, info@salgc.org.za. We'll share that. I hope Leadership Lekalakala will share the presentation. We'll also upload it in our Facebook and our website. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming, and we appreciate your time. Good evening.
Good evening. Bye.
Thank you and bye.
Yeah, bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.